Nerd Wars podcast. I have Tabasco pepper sauce. I'm Captain Rob.
The Podmeister Logan.
Steve of the Boat King of the Beef Broth.
Oh, the drop. I waited for it.
I need some fireworks.
You're sad. All right. We have a kind of a short news week for you, everyone.
Says you. I've got a shit ton of stuff.
Shut up, Steve. It's a short news week. And
it's only a fourth of this podcast.
And we just came here to tell you
well,
Rob
let's
has
be honest,
Tabasco.
a third of the podcast with news.
One thing I'm going to say really quickly because it's just a one-liner. I'm excited about Pokemon now on Netflix as of March 1st.
Oh, yeah.
That makes me happy. I don't have to put them on my computer anymore for the kid. You can just turn them on Netflix. Netflix!
They had a couple
of
of seasons,
Pokemon?
but they didn't have the whole thing.
Yes.
Netflix.
What?
They had like the first 2 seasons that were licensed to a different network, and then the first movie.
The first couple Pokemon seasons are not on Netflix. I've searched for it vehemently. They are just now for the first time on maybe some of the movies, but not any of the seasons.
Maybe it was the movies then, but because they had different licensing. Like there was the ones licensed to. Wasn't Funimation? Who was it that had?
Oh
Pokemon?
God! Can you imagine a Funimation Pokemon? The style of like shitty He-Man.
Funimation's not that bad. They just have.
Funimation was not good.
They've done all the like huge ones in America. Full Metal Alchemist, Naruto.
See, I'm thinking old school
Goku,
Funimation.
or Goku. Dragon Ball Z, just Goku.
Same thing.
I just remember seeing the logo on the action figure, and I was like, Goku.
They're the biggest dubbing.
Old school Funimation did like their own cartoons that they did, like the old He-Mans and stuff like that. Where
And I said,
yeah, where it was
That
just
fucking
like
video.
a still frame with like a moving mouth.
Yeah.
Those were the old Funimations.
Now they just pick
Where they couldn't
terrible
afford it.
voice casting.
Steve, we'll start with you. I wanted to get my
Okay.
Pokemon news out of the way, so go. Go.
Things, words. We have our final bit of casting news for the Gotham TV show. We have cast Bruce Wayne and Selena Kyle.
Ooh, tell me more.
Bruce Wayne is played by David Mazouz.
This is nobody, right?
Yes and no. I mean, he was on a show on Fox. He was on Touch, I believe it was called, the one with Kiefer Sutherland about the
weird little boy?
Yeah, he's the weird little boy. He's playing Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, okay.
I guess he's not a weird little boy in real life, but he played a weird little
Well, he's
boy.
older now, I assume, yeah?
Yeah, he's going to be early
He only
teens.
seemed like he was like 6 or 7 in that
No,
show. Was he older?
He was like 10 or 11. And then Selena Kyle is going to be played by Cameron Bikendova.
Okay.
She's only been in like 3 movies, and they're not big. Throwing things around.
Logan
Sorry.
gives no fucks this episode.
They're both really, I guess, for the most part, kind of nobodies, but they both look the part, and I'm sure it'll be all right. They're not the main stars of the show, so
Totally expected them to go with nobodies, just like they did with Smallville, so they could drag it out. I mean, not in a bad way, but.
And honestly, didn't Tom Welling nail it? I love him.
I thought Tom Welling was awesome.
I thought he was really, really good as both parts. He did really
Even though
good.
he was playing a teenage Clark Kent at 32 years old.
Yeah. And he fucking looked it, though.
Yeah.
That dude
Still
is
looks
fucking
baby
beautiful.
man.
It's just something about when he shaves, he looks babyface, but then when he grows like that short beard he did, I'm like, oh, he's 30 now. Like, it was an instant change between that. He, the only, like, issue I ever had with Smallville with that part of it was that without, like, the glasses and the attitude, like, he was Superman all the time. Like, you know what I mean? Like, in high school, he was always Superman. He was never
but
ever
at the same
Clark
time,
Kent.
though, that was before he...
I understand that's where he's, like, learning it and stuff, but that was...
Once he actually started going to Metropolis and...
Wearing the
everything,
glasses
he
and
started doing
stuff.
the glasses and everything.
He teaches, in the new 52, he teaches Wonder Woman about how to wear the glasses and how it changes things and stuff.
Oh,
so when
nice.
she's playing, her
Diana.
Yeah, Diana. That's what she's like, oh, it's odd because when I put these on, people stop noticing me and like, whatever. He's like, yeah, make sure you slouch more. Like, he's like telling her, like, coaching her on how to
That's awesome.
be indistinguishable.
Nice. We were talking about the Fantastic Four 1 or 2 episodes ago?
2.
2 episodes ago.
Because he was here.
That's right. Matthew Vaughn,
pointed at Rob.
who is the... thank you. At that moment, Billy points to Rob.
Well, I said he was here, and there's 4 of them, so...
Matthew Vaughn, who directed Kick-Ass, Kick-Ass 2, and First Class.
Ooh, yeah. Okay.
He is producing it.
What is
He was
it?
one of the 3
again?
directors,
Fantastic
wasn't he?
Four.
I was going to say, I've already lost what you
Matthew
heard at the
Vaughn,
beginning
yeah,
of the
he's
thought.
producing Fantastic Four. But he has stated that it's going to be much darker than the previous Fantastic Fours. See, a lot of people aren't that happy about that because
Well, no,
that's never meant to be.
I agree with that
dark.
completely, but the only thing I'd say is that darker, in my mind, just means not as fucking
Campy.
Oh, campy, exactly, as they have been.
So I hope they still get a bit of the humor in there because that is something that's always been there. It's not like they decided, hey, let's make this movie
I hope it's
funny.
not gritty and like that's what me and Robert were just talking about last week about.
As much as I loved it, I don't
gritty.
want this to be like the Fantastic Four version of Amazing Spider-Man
or fucking Batman.
Yeah.
I agree.
So there's that. The new Flash costume.
In love with it.
They released the first picture of that for the TV show.
We haven't really talked as a group about it yet, so this is good timing for it.
It's really just his head. Yeah. It's not even the whole thing. It's just like a profile shot of him.
Yeah.
I know me and Logan, we both really like it. I don't think Billy's a fan of it.
I'm just biased because I don't like the look of his face as Flash. Like, it kills it for me, so.
The only complaint that I have, I should say I have two small criticisms, and one of them you can't really do much about without it being cheesy. I wish he had blue eyes, but that's just me.
I wish he had blue eyes, too, because people with blue eyes are awesome.
Though, in editing.
Agreed. Well, yeah, or he could just wear contacts or something, but that's the only, like, criticism that I'm kind of like, but the only thing that you can't quite tell from the photo, and it could just be, I hope it's not as dark as it is.
I think it will be because Arrow's outfit is that dark too, and it's
that's kind of their thing. Now.
But it's almost brown. It's so red. It's so
dark,
scarlet colored.
Scarlet.
Yeah, but
he's always called the Scarlet Speedster.
It should be like Billy's shirt color in my
that's
mind.
not scarlet.
But that's the color of his costume. Though.
I know, but
scarlet does not always mean like the actual color of scarlet. It's more just like it's synonymous with red. You know what I mean? For the same reason they call Green Arrow the Emerald Archer, and he's not really emerald color. He's more kind of a dark.
Depends on the costume.
Yeah.
Hunter's green.
More. That's what I was gonna say. It's more like hunter green, but a little more blue in it.
Some cases lime.
Has he ever been as bright as lime?
In the 80s, they drew him.
I was gonna say that's when he got caught all the time. The lime green archer.
There's the Green Arrow. Where's he at? About a mile.
Clearly in that tree, we can see him right over there with his bow.
When he was possessed by Parallax, that was fucking
Green Arrow.
I was talking Green Lantern.
We were talking Green Arrow.
I was like, Green Arrow was possessed by Parallax?
Yeah, I was like, whoa!
That was cool.
That was the Deadshot moment right there.
Yeah. We've all got one.
Comic art to happen.
That'd be cool. I remember we were kind of talking about how we didn't like the look of him when it first started. And I don't think I ever said it out loud, but one thing I didn't like about, I can't remember his name, but the guy that's playing the Flash, was he didn't have much of a chin. They gave him a chin.
They gave him one in the costume.
I was like, all right, I'll they did that.
And I think they realized his shortcomings, like with the distinguishable, like, prominent features.
The other thing I wonder about with that costume is it's going to be leather? It looks like it's leather.
It looks like
really
it is.
does.
Almost,
I don't like that.
I don't think a runner can do well in leather.
We'll see.
I mean, we'll see because they'll make us see it, but I don't think that really works very well.
He's just going to catch on
He's
fire.
he's going to start running and start a fire.
And it's going to be so loud because every time he takes a step, she's like,
He's going to be like,
he's creaking
someone squeak.
He's creaking at hyperspeed.
The way it could be worse is if he was wearing corduroy.
No, he would catch on fire or denim.
Oh my god!
I can see Flash.
His eyes are gonna be tickling so bad.
Kazoo theme.
I feel like it just have a hole burned right in the thigh area.
Doppler effect when he runs by.
There he goes. NASCAR is what it sounds like.
The fastest zipper ever. Yesterday they released the trailer and news about Arkham Knight.
Oh man,
the new Arkham game, done by Rocksteady again.
I'm kind of surprised they're doing another one after the debacle with the last one that we talked about before. Like how it just basically said, fuck it. Ignoring the bugs and everything.
Oh, well,
this is a different company.
Yeah, it's a completely different production company. Here's the odd thing about that was that I was reading about, actually, I'm not reading this, what Paul Dini said, I think, on one of the episodes of Fat Man on Batman, was that basically, since WB owns the license to it, they just kind of pick a company.
They shop it out.
Yeah, and that's what they've done, Rocksteady, and then they're like, oh, we'll give it to Montreal because we own a big chunk of that, so we'll give it to them, and it'll cost us less money. And so in doing that, they also didn't have Paul Dini as the writer, which, as I've said in one of the previous pods, I think that was a huge mistake because the origin story was kind of weak. But this looked gorgeous. I mean, granted, no gameplay. It's all cinematic. Yeah. But that cinematic is amazing.
Yeah, it's cool.
I really, really thoroughly enjoy it.
Yeah, and as a huge fan of Two-Face, there's like one scene where like he like jumps out and he's like shooting at the car, and then the Batmobile goes over his head in slow-mo, and it like shows him looking to the left and then like slowly looks up and then ends up looking
Batman.
on to the right, and like you can see both sides of Two-Face's
Yeah, you get to
face.
see it go from one side to the other.
And then of
And
course
I
there's like
that
an
his
explosion
arms
and then he
everything
jumps
are all
out.
jacked up too. It's not just his face.
Yeah. His hand and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I like it.
That's really cool. Also, the suit. God damn it. They get better with that every game. Like, every game that... I know every single time a new one's come out, we've been like, oh, wasn't the suit so awesome in this one? And now it looks even cooler.
And I want to go on record, in all the movies and stuff, I always complain, I'm like, oh, I wish they would make it look a little bit more like the comics instead of making it look all swatty and stuff like that. But then seeing this, I'm like, man, I take back everything I say. Yeah. If you can make it look like that, it's
well,
perfect.
That's because they make it look so tactical in the movies, like it's just pieces of body armor, like
it's like
meshed
flak
together.
Vest and stuff
exactly,
like that. Yeah.
But in the not in the comics, but in the games,
trailer,
they always make it look like it's custom made, like kind of interlocked armor plates that is exactly what I would imagine Batman wear. Except like the comics always tend to do it like he almost has like a cloth costume over it.
Yeah.
But this is like that is the costume, and I fucking love that style. I think it looks amazing, and I really, really hope we get to see that kind of costume in a movie one day.
And I'm really excited to drive the Batmobile.
Yeah, and so I didn't. You were talking about that. I didn't see that. Is that something they've talked about already? That you get to do that?
Because it leaked. An hour before the WB actually released it, because I think they panicked.
The trailer leaked?
No, like the fact that it exists.
Oh,
it's a Canadian website called like game.com or something like that.
Didn't they announce it at Comic-Con in San Diego?
No.
I thought
they said that they were working on it, but this was like...
Oh, okay.
But it was like a like new release or coming soon pre-order type situation where it had the cover art, and then it was like Batman Arkham Knight, and then it kind of explained, it said like play out the final game of the Arkham series, then it said like drive around in the Batmobile and stuff like that, so it confirmed it that way. WB has not said it yet, but it's a part of like the little release that they
I wonder if it's going to be, I would bet, and of course I hope I'm wrong, but I would bet it's going to be like the Batwing was in this one, where you just kind of take it to a place and you're out of it. Because otherwise, that shrinks the city of Gotham really, really small. And it all, I mean, just like it kind of did with Origins.
Yeah.
And also,
they could take the Grand Theft Auto approach and just make it huge.
Well, they said it's 5 times bigger than Arkham City, but that's what me and Steve were kind of talking before the pod, is that...
Arkham City wasn't small.
Arkham City wasn't small, but Origins was about 5 times bigger than City, so maybe it's going to be... and that was supposed to be all of Gotham that you had access to, except what's over the other side of the bridge.
Actually, I would not say... Arkham Origins... I wouldn't say it was 5 times larger. It was just kind of like a little bit more spread out Arkham City.
Well,
because all the areas were there, and it's not like they added more areas to it. They just added like the bridge in between, and they just kind of added a little bit more to each area, but it was all like the same.
Well, I think Origins or City was pretty much like the North Island there by itself.
No, there was stuff on the bottom section that was in City too.
Okay. I just can't remember. I'll take your word for it. I know you played it more recently, but
so it might be larger. It might be decently sized.
That said, too, if you're driving the Batmobile, like my thing is that it's not going to be like Grand Theft Auto where you can just fucking run people down, or it shouldn't be anyway.
No, it might also be a case where you can't drive it all the time. It might be just specific parts of the story or specific quest types that you drive the Batmobile, which I would be okay with.
I mean, it could also be like the scene in Batman Begins where, the city's overrun with nothing but like criminals and villains where he's at.
I would say, like every other of the Arkham games now.
Well, yeah, but I mean, like, if the whole city's that way, then yeah, he kind of run into people. I mean,
just kind of take a few out. Who will miss them?
Yeah, I think it takes place. It takes place, I believe, after Arkham City. So I'm sure.
I like to think if Batman's driving in the Batmobile and a criminal jumps out in front of him and he hits him, he's like, "That never happened," and he just keeps driving. He's like, "Oh no, that never happened." And he just keeps driving.
He was already dying.
He was dead already.
It was a mercy.
Keeps going.
Mercy kill. Somebody killed him and threw him at me.
Batman hit that guy. No, nope, I don't remember that.
That did not happen.
You made that up.
But, I believe it takes place after Arkham City, so I mean, it's probably still going to have some level of chaos to it. I don't know how much further after Arkham City. obviously enough to the point where these criminals are out and about again.
Yeah.
That's
one thing that's I won't say bothered me because I understand how necessary it is for the Batman game for it to kind of thrive and make sense. But goddamn, there's criminals everywhere, and all of them like, and every reason they give it a story. That's kind of
how the comic is too, though.
Well, I mean, it's not really though. I mean, Gotham is a crime-ridden
city.
You
just see that parts of the city,
but yeah, I mean, like, and there's like 300 criminals per square foot everywhere in the game. But
yeah, that's true.
And like I said, that makes
sense.
There's
no safe ATM in these video games.
And that's what like. Why wouldn't everyone just move out of Gotham if they're literally run by criminals all the time? People come out of their houses and they're like, "There's a bitch, get her!" You know what I mean? Go back in. Shit, shut the door. Fuck it up. But yeah,
every day is like the purge.
That's what it would feel like.
But it's just at night. During the day, it's a great place to be. But when night hits, it's like bar the doors,
lock everything down.
I hope you got your money, because we're not going to an ATM.
We're not going
Don't
out.
go near the hat shop.
No wonder his parents got killed. Like, you know what I mean? They didn't have much of a chance. They were wealthy and just walking down the street twirling canes and shit with all these evil people. They didn't stand a chance.
I feel like I'm missing references with the hat shop and the ATM things.
Because you haven't played the games.
Obviously.
Yeah. There's basically random well, the hat shop thing is just Mad Hatter and all those assholes out of it, but there's
always a shit ton of bad guys right next to his shop.
And right next to every ATM. It's like they're like, okay, here comes somebody and like, let's rob this motherfucker.
It's like 75% of the crimes in progress are just people trying to break into an ATM. Yeah. You're like, God, come up with something better. Obviously, it's not working.
Yeah, no shit.
You haven't done it yet.
You guys have gotten your fucking teeth kicked in every time you've touched an ATM, every bad guy.
You need to stop.
But yeah, I'm excited for the new one, the fucking cinematic. I want so bad that movie, but Arkham, that kind of leads into, what's it called? Assault on Arkham, which is apparently a animated feature that's coming out around the same time as the game that's supposed to
tie in.
They didn't really say if it's a tie-in, but it's supposed to be in that universe, so that'll be cool.
Story together.
I'll be interested to see an animated movie that's in that universe.
One thing that I have not heard yet, I just thought of this. Who's doing the voice of Batman in this?
I was wondering that earlier, but I figured it was probably just going to be the new guy.
I wonder if it'll be Conroy again.
Well, and I think it could be based on that post on Reddit anyway. I'll explain. There's no real... This isn't anything I can verify other than just saying it. But on the post on Reddit that was for the trailer, people were talking about it. It was like, oh, there's also... Somebody said the same thing I did. That's how I found out about that animated thing. They were like, oh, it'd be so cool if they did a movie. And somebody said, funny you should say that because Assault on Arkham comes out, whatever, according to the wiki. So then one of the bots, the Reddit bots, popped up with the article. And in the featured in this thing, it said like Kevin Conroy and a couple other voices from the games typically. So it very well could be. But... Yeah. No, I mean, like I said, that's rampant speculation. Right?
I mean, didn't he technically retire?
No,
like 400 times he said he's never going back.
That's why he didn't do the last game. I thought was he was.
Well, no, they didn't want him to because they wanted younger, rawer voices.
Yeah, honestly though, I'd be okay with that guy again. He was great.
He was good.
I always want Conroy more, but that guy did a great job. Yeah, I'll completely take it.
Yes.
So yeah, Arkham Joker too.
Troy Baker was good. So yes, it'll probably be sometime.
They said fall is when the movie comes out, and it's supposed to come out with the game.
Probably around the same time.
October-ish.
Probably so.
What else do I have? Avengers news. They have to kind of completely redo the schedule for how they're filming it because Scarlett Johansson is pregnant now.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and that probably puts a kibosh on the solo film they were going to do, I think, shortly afterwards.
Black Widow,
yeah.
I had a conversation with Trish about this, and honestly, all they're going to do is just postpone filming the action parts. Like,
they're really going to speed it up. They're going to film her stuff now.
The Avengers, yes, her film.
Oh.
They'll probably just push back, like, maybe 4 months, and they'll film anything they can where they can hide her.
Well, at the same time, though, they never really said that they were going to film it right after this. They just said, hey, we're thinking about doing one. It could have been 2 years from now.
I thought I read, and I can possibly completely making this up.
They never confirmed it.
I thought I had read something that said they were going to try and start filming that one shortly after because it's such a simple, easy film. I mean, it's low action, it's just simple martial arts.
It's probably speculation, but nothing official.
Sounded like a thundercrack, didn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, popping my knuckle.
Random sounds over here today.
Logan just has to make noise.
I just want to be
sexist Steve is going to say, I'm happy that she already went ahead and filmed her nude scene in that Under the Skin film that's coming out later this year. So we can get before pregnant Take Scarlett
I'm
Johansson.
okay after pregnant too.
yeah.
Hopefully we get a
Weirdo.
comparison.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Before and
There you go.
after.
I'm
There
just
you
saying,
go.
you know.
Wait a minute.
We're not getting a during.
Those boobs are getting bigger.
Yeah, they are, and I'm so excited. You see her pictures from the Oscars?
Yeah.
Man, she looked hot in those pictures.
I was going to talk about. Let's talk about the Oscars.
Okay, let's do that.
Gravity.
Gravity.
That's it. Gravity won everything.
And 12 Years a Slave or whatever.
Yeah, that won Best Picture. It won Best Adapted Screenplay and Best Supporting Actress.
Dallas Buyers Club won a lot.
Dallas Buyers Club won both actor and supporting actor.
And honestly,
Jared Leto got an actor.
I was gonna
got
say-
an actor. Got an Oscar.
he bought his own human.
And Matthew McConaughey got an Oscar. So there's that.
Yeah, is it Jared Leto? I thought it was Leto. But anyway,
With Leto.
God damn that dude. I mean, everybody talks about how
He's got
Matthew
pretty
McConaughey
hair.
looked, yeah, he does. How he transformed for the movie, but that guy, Jesus.
He lost a crap ton of weight and
Became a woman.
became a woman.
I mean, that's kind of the ultimate transformation. Is Matthew McConaughey lost a lot of weight and looked like a gay cowboy, which he kind of was. But Jared Leto, man, he turned into another like sex.
Yeah.
Is he like a transvestite or well, I always mix them up. Transvestite, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Transvestite's a crossdresser.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he's transvestite.
Yeah.
I'm
The hot kind.
An executive.
gonna have to.
Yeah, I got that one.
Yes, thank you. I'm gonna have to report back because I'm about to do my annual watch all the Oscar winners
Yeah.
thing. I definitely want to watch 12 Years a Slave. I actually want to.
Chiwetel Ejiofor. I want to see. I love
yeah.
him in everything.
Have you guys seen the photo of the Lupita Nyong'o, the girl that won
Yeah.
the photo of Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie like clapping
Yes.
at it? And somebody was like, they want to adopt her so
I've
bad.
seen
She's like
that.
31 years old.
That's fantastic.
So many memes of it. Like, every time he's whispering into her ear, it's just that phrase. Is
But I
shot
want
differently.
to. I want to watch that. I really want to watch American Hustle.
Mm.
That one I
Yeah.
really, really want to see.
I've heard very mixed things. Like, there have been a few people who told me it was amazing, and a few people tell me it was one of the worst movies they've ever seen, and got up and walked out.
As a quick side note, related to when Lupita won her Oscars, I guess, or Oscar, she was like walking by. There's a lot of pictures. People were kind of shitty at Leo because he just sat there, like just sat down. And I was like, he's furious. Like he's like, I've been doing this for fucking years, and one of the best actors in Hollywood still hasn't won one, and she got out of her first movie.
Her first movie, yeah, she won.
But yeah, it was.
But she
happened with Precious or
But
whatever.
that was her first movie, but she's been acting almost all her entire life.
So is he.
Well, no, but I'm saying,
Yeah.
like, she's got her master's in theater arts and stuff like that. I mean, so it's not like somebody's like, "Hey, you want to be a film?" She was like, "Okay," and then wins an Oscar. I mean, she's an actress.
There was it was like the
And weirdly enough, she's Kenyan and Mexican. Like, she has dual citizenship for both of them.
That's an odd combo.
Yeah,
But there was it
that's
was
the
like
name Lupita, I guess.
condescending Wonka or whatever, and it was like, oh, you won an Oscar on your first try. How exciting that must be for you. It was like Leo just sitting there looking pissed off in his chair.
Did you see the one where it's like, when they're announcing the actor, it's like his like voice where he's like, "All right, here comes your big moment," and he's like, "It's not you, keep it together, don't want to see you cry." And the faces he's making, and it's like actually like
That's funny.
during the announcement,
Stills of his face.
or like
That's
somebody
awesome.
posted it next to the picture of the episode of Simpsons where Lisa breaks up with Ralph on the Krusty the Clown show,
Yeah.
and Bart's like, "If you pause it at the right moment, you can see the exact moment his heart rips." And
Yeah.
I think that same picture to Tim, he's like, "Oh," it's like, "God, that sucks." But you know what? Fuck Leonardo DiCaprio. Oh no, now I've just lost his name. The guy played Gordon, Commissioner Gordon.
Gary Oldman?
God
Gary
damn
Oldman.
it! I lost it too.
I just lost his name, but he's been nominated.
I was like, Jim Caviezel. That's not right at all.
I think the actual, because everybody's throwing such a tissy about Leonardo DiCaprio, who's been nominated 4 times.
Yeah.
They didn't get it. I believe the actual number for Gary Oldman is 25 times, and he's never gotten it.
There's somebody that has
Eat a dick,
35.
Leo.
There was a thing I was reading about how they said that your being nominated is really dependent on your acting talent. Winning is like how you schmooze. So they're saying that the
Getting
nomination
nominated
is really
is
all.
is schmoozing too.
Well, that's just whatever the article that I was reading earlier. It was actually just today, but was saying kind of the opposite. Is that the nomination part is really based on what they consider acting skill. That's why so many people say, "Oh, it just means so much to get nominated," because that's really all that matters. But then the winning is kind of the
You have to campaign for both.
oh well,
Like, you have to put out campaign videos, and you got to, like, try to sponsor yourself and shit like that. Like, it's not like, oh, he did really good. It's like, oh, no, he's, like, done the work to convince us or whatever.
yeah, that's horseshit.
That's why if you've ever seen the movie For Your Consideration by Christopher Guest, like the same people
heard
that
the name
Waiting
of
for Guffman and stuff like that, This Is Spinal Tap,
Yeah,
all those type, like the
Mockumentary
documentaries. It's about Oscar season. It's about all these people that are trying to nominate themselves
Interesting.
by doing their videos For Your Consideration, blah, blah, blah.
I remember Anthony Hopkins. Kind of people were surprised at how real he was about it when they asked him about for Hitchcock if he was like
bullshit, yeah.
They're like, do you think you're a shoo-in for the? He was like, I don't give a fuck about the Oscars. He was like, they're all rigged. It's a setup about how much ass you can kiss, not how competent you are. I was like, wow, he just was fucking real for a minute.
Yeah, that's why a lot of people, like the actors themselves, they put a lot more weight in like the SAG awards because those are actually voted on by their peers.
Yeah,
I've read that exact same thing before. Like they totally take that as a bigger honor than anything the Oscars is because it's totally political there.
Most of the actors keep their Oscars in their bathrooms. Yeah.
It's so fantastic. I love when South Park did their
totally use it as a toilet
play on the Screen Actors Guild and it was the Film Actors Guild.
Oh yeah.
Cracked my shit up.
But yeah, Gravity. I saw a meme that was like,
I haven't seen that movie yet. Have you?
No.
I hear it's pretty great. There's a lot of like fan theories and shit about that movie, like how kind of like how people have them about Inception and whatnot. Because I guess it's one of those movies where you can kind of take your own interpretation of the endings and stuff.
It looked super intense.
Yeah.
I saw another meme on Reddit that said the only person that didn't win an Oscar who was involved with Gravity. It was a picture of Newton.
Yeah, I saw that today actually.
Yeah, it made me laugh. But yeah, apparently it was just like it won the most awards.
Gravity did?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I got to watch that. I got to watch 12 Years a Slave. I got to watch American
Honestly,
Hustle.
I feel like and this sounds silly, but for all the movies that were nominated and won this year, most of them have been, I mean, and obviously you would say it every year, but at least this year it seems like most of them have been pretty fantastic movies overall. Like I said, it sounds silly because you think everything that won an Oscar was a great movie, but let me put it this way: it seems more like movies I'd be interested in watching.
Yeah,
some of them get so like kind of serious and silly that I don't care to watch them. But I remember almost every one of them.
I remember last year when I went on my little watch all the Oscar winners things. Yeah. I really, really enjoyed Silver Linings Playbook.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that was
really good.
Bradley Cooper.
Yeah, and Jennifer Lawrence. I started to watch Argo.
A rom-com?
Yeah.
And won an Oscar, huh?
Well, yeah, she won Best Actress.
Interesting.
Argo won Best Picture.
Naturally.
And I started to watch it, and I was like, man, I'm not going to want to watch this. 10 minutes in, I was enthralled.
Yeah.
That movie is awesome. It deserved to win Best Picture.
I do want to see that movie still.
Yeah, it was really, really good. And I didn't think it was going to be. I hate political like thrillers and whatever like that.
Yeah.
But it does a good job blending some comedy into it.
Isn't it based on true story?
True story, yeah.
Is that how they smuggle hostages out of
during the
Cuba
Iran conflict.
The missile conflict?
That's the Cuban Missile
Damn it, I knew I did that backwards.
But during the end of the credits for Argo, they actually show pictures of the people that it was based off of. And for the most part, they did a spectacular job of casting them. Like, I was like, oh, all right.
Nice.
But, so yeah, Oscars. Yay. I've got some tech stuff. Shut up, Rob.
Okay.
Oh, no, sorry, last thing.
Don't ever do that again.
I made you guys just watch this, but like the last 4 episodes of the season of Arrow start tonight.
Yeah, I was like, you didn't make me watch any season of Arrow.
Yeah. The last 4 episodes of the season start tonight, and they posted this long 3-minute trailer for
Deadshot,
it. And it looks awesome. Like, it's got, yeah.
I'm not saying anything at all.
Rob was confused the whole time.
Yeah, it's got both Deadshot and Deathstroke, so... but it's got the Suicide Squad, the Huntress back, Deathstroke.
What all members of the Suicide Squad? I saw Bronze Tiger.
They're doing Bronze Tiger, Deadshot.
Which I don't think he's ever been in the Suicide Squad, has he?
I think they're just doing their own little kind. And Shrapnel.
I don't even know who Shrapnel is.
They might have made him up for the show. But it's the concept. But I'm
I like to think that I'm in the know about DC stuff, and I don't know that I've ever heard of Shrapnel.
I think they just introduced cameos of characters.
Like I guess you got to introduce them all somewhere.
Yeah, this is like the beginning of it. So I mean,
Harley Quinn was introduced in a TV show.
Yeah, exactly.
And look at her. She didn't even make it to the Suicide Squad.
She's in the comic. That's all that matters.
She's too big for that now.
She probably is, actually.
Yeah, that's true.
She's a big character
Too
now.
iconic, I guess.
I'll see her in film.
Really, they really need to do that.
Yeah.
I doubt we will with this one.
Can you imagine being like Paul Dini? I got to think like, as somebody who likes to write and stuff like that, and periodically and put creative ideas out and whatnot. Can you imagine seeing a character you made like as big as it is now, and you just made it for shits and giggles one day on it?
And it was like a throwaway character.
Like, exactly. Like somebody is like, oh, I'll just put her in here and it's fun and give her a name, that kind of thing. But that must be the craziest, coolest feeling. I mean, like most of the guys who created the shit that we see in movies, or the heroes that we see in movies now, except Stan Lee, are long since dead, or you know what I mean, or like are so old that you can't really relate exactly. But
say, well, Stan Lee's.
Well, still,
he's like 90.
But
That's okay.
is single-handedly responsible for Marvel. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, but he's probably like, oh, there's another thing I made. He's forgotten more characters than he's made than we know about. But
I also enjoy the fact that Spider-Man was a throwaway character too.
I didn't know
it was
that.
the last issue of Amazing Fantasy, and they're like, "Hey, just do whatever you want." And he's like, "I want to make this guy because I kind of always wanted to."
Yeah.
And then like he was gone for like a year. But, like, they're like, oh, we want that Spider-Man guy back. And he's like, oh, I guess so. All right, we'll make a Spider-Man comic, I guess.
Yeah.
Because it was the last issue of Amazing Fantasy. It was 15 was the last one.
That's cool. His costume, we talked about this a little bit before, and I want to bring this up later before the end of the pod, but Spider-Man might have one of the best costumes in comic book media, period. That
Wizard
costume is
Magazine
flawless.
voted that.
Yeah.
They said it was number one.
I would put it up
costume.
there as definitely in the top 3 for me.
It was Spider-Man, Superman, Batman, Captain America. I think were the top 4.
I would also put in my personal opinion, the Flash in there somewhere. More than I love Green Lantern's costume, but I think the Flash is like function, form, all kind of comes together perfectly, and it is exactly him, like how the yellow bolts of lightning come.
What are we
out of his
arguing
costume.
specifically?
Not arguing, just kind of
talking about
iconic, I guess. Kind of.
I mean, you'd almost have to lump
Wonder Woman.
I don't think hers is so iconic
Wolverine.
though. I
She's
think
got the
colors are.
iconic WW thing,
so many
and then it
times.
like forms her cleavage broth part.
Which is true.
No,
but
I agree
even
that-
still, like you in your head, do you not always picture him in the yellow?
No,
Really?
not really.
Who? What are we talking about?
Wolverine. So many
Wolverine?
different versions of Wolverine.
I usually
him in
picture him
the
being
yellow.
brown.
But I was gonna say, but then I also could immediately go to like the dark orangish brownish, the black costumes he's been in, the was
leather
that
one
blue
that
and
Frank
white
Quitely and Grant
and
Morrison did.
what was his Weapon X costume, like blue and white, or no, it was when he was with
black
X,
and blue and red,
X-Force.
wasn't it?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was like white and blue, I think. And
He had a couple
Can't
different
remember.
ones through
the
X
one he's in, like,
Force. It was
yeah, that's a
mostly dark
Canadian team,
colors.
right?
I
X
was
Force.
gonna say it was
No,
like,
that's
all stealth colors.
What's
X Force is
They were the
Alpha Flight.
Wetworks.
Or the Canadian is
the Alpha Flight, yeah, and that was he had like a blue and a white, like light
I
blue
think
costume,
so.
didn't he? Almost like the Flying Graysons kind of look.
That one I haven't seen before, so I don't know.
Yeah,
No,
the
he's
X Force
got a ton
one
of
was
costumes.
dark when they did
No, I
the
knew
Wetworks
he
team.
changed
That
them.
one was really
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
Yeah, the dark blues.
Yeah,
and the
dark
grays and
blues,
the-
yeah.
The red accent, isn't it?
Well, it's got just red eyes, really.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the rest of it's just black and dark grays and dark blues.
Yeah,
Stealth.
I really liked that whole run. That was so cool.
Agreed.
Talk more about
Okay.
costumes at the end because I have some cool ideas I want to introduce that we can talk about.
Can't remember what we were going about there. Oh, we were talking about Arrow. That's what it was. Last 4 episodes look cool, and they start last week because this is going to air next week. It starts tonight.
It starts. So I do like again going back into that again. I think Deadpool. Fucking Deathstroke. Damn, Rob, you did this to me.
They nailed it.
Deathstroke's helmet looks really cool. I kind of
The
expected
whole
it
costume looked cool, actually.
I don't think I got.
They showed it at the
I
end.
showed a lot. I didn't really notice that. I was so stuck on the helmet, but I think that I expected it to look like kind of the Army of Two, like Kevlar helmets,
Yeah.
but it still looks really cool. I really like that look, the Army of Two one. He actually has that in the Suicide Squad or one of the books he's in New 52.
Yeah.
But yeah, I dig it. I think he looked pretty cool. So that was.
That's really my entertainment. But I got a couple tech things. I'm going to steal this one from Billy because I knew about it before him.
You're taking probably the one piece of news
No,
this
keep
fucker brought.
talking. No,
we talked about it because
Yeah.
it blew my mind. Like I had heard nothing official about it, and then I had to Google it immediately.
It was officially announced that LG is going to make the Nexus 6.
Nice.
I know Billy's been saying that for a while that everybody thought HTC was going to, but they announced that LG is going to be doing the 6, and it's pretty much going to be like a light version of the LG G3.
Okay.
When it says light version, I don't understand light if the specs are actually.
It's probably
legit.
it's probably going to. They probably mean like without the bloatware and stuff like that. Without the LG stuff.
That's fine. I'd rather have that. I would totally like if they made the G2 in the Google Play edition, I'd have bought that over the
G2's a great
Nexus 5.
phone.
Yeah, G2 is still.
You know, man,
phone.
I'll say it. I'm fucking proud of LG lately. Like, I started out being a big LG fan. Like, once upon a time, my first phones were all LG phones. Then it just kind of turned into they're the garbage company that puts out bullshit phones that break instantly, and now they're back.
Nobody hated LG as much as I did because my first 3 cell phones, all flip phones, were LG because they were cheap at the time, in my price range. And they all broke. Like that. I had 3 of them because I had to have 3 of them.
Not by choice.
You could probably ask anybody who's been in the cell phone business for a long time, like Logan, me, I got lots of other friends. You could say, hey, what was the worst phone that ever came out? And they immediately go, LG View.
Yeah.
That phone was
followed up closely by the Xenon. That was
man. then the Evergreen by Samsung.
Yeah.
But LG had some rough times. Even like when they start coming out with the smartphones. It was like, all right, here we go. Then it was like, oh no, these aren't good.
The thrill that got so hot that it could burn your face.
Man, I loved the thrill.
That
3D camera was cool.
It was thrilling, but it would literally burn your face. That
never happened to me.
It got our display model got so hot, like we had to take it off the display because we were worried it would hurt people.
That never happened.
But yeah, they. Speaking of shitty old phones, I should say, but old touchscreen phones, Samsung Eternity was probably one of the best touchscreen. Were you around long enough for the Samsung Eternity? It's a basic phone, touchscreen phone, but not a smartphone. But once upon a time, probably the best basic phone ever made as far as touchscreens and shit go. Basic, high-end basic phones, I should say. But people still come in with that phone occasionally, like, I want to upgrade. I'm like, you've had this phone for 7 years. Like, that's impressive for a touchscreen.
I know that one.
But yeah, LG has come full circle around the bend. They started off as pretty good, okay cell phones.
Their flip phones were awesome.
Yeah. To like complete garbage, avoid them at all costs. Now back to probably one of the best, in my opinion, the best Android phone maker right now.
Yeah.
They have put out some fucking heat lately. Especially their strategy has been, and this is I can tell you this from the cell phone world, and I'm sure Steve knows about it. But their strategy has been release a product equal to Samsung, if not better, which it has been better in the last 3 cases, and then cut the price in half of whatever Samsung's is. So now that they are literally a better phone at half the cost, and they keep fucking winning. We can't keep LG phones in stock except for the Flex because it's a bit overpriced and not really worth it for what you're getting anyway. But and then the Optimus G2 or G Pro 2 when that comes out in a month or 2 or whatever, specs on that thing, if the rumors are true anyway, are a beast. It's going to be pretty massive.
And then the G3, which is probably going to come out sometime later this year.
I really hope they don't fuck that line of phone up, that family of phone, the G line anyway, the G2 or whatever, G3.
If the speculation is even remotely to be believed, it's probably going to be right around like fall, August.
Yeah.
From what I was saying.
At that point, we'll be at like a Snapdragon 1000, I'd wager.
It's an octa-core processor in the specs.
That sounds about right.
2.4 gigahertz octa-core processor, 4 gig of memory, 3200 milliamp battery, 2K ultra high def resolution.
Come in a 64 and 128 gig versions.
By default.
That's like when I thought, and I've said it a million times, I'm sure you guys are tired of hearing it, but when I got my G2, I thought, this is a really, really great Android phone, really powerful. I'm impressed at how good the hardware is. And then my LG rep said, yeah, spec for spec, it's better than the Xbox 360. And I went, what? Like, no way. I started looking it up, and absolutely. Better video card, better processor, more RAM. It is better than the Xbox 360, and it fits in my fucking pocket. That blows my mind.
Yeah.
The only other little bit of news I had, with your old pal Apple.
Yeah.
This is not a good story. There was a lady
who died.
Yes. Do you know the story?
I do.
She got cancer, and she bought an iPad to keep herself busy during her hospital trips and stuff like that. And she died, and in her will, she bequeathed her stuff to her kids. One of the kids got the iPad, and Apple won't unlock it for them.
And by unlock, he means the passcode.
It's got her passcode and stuff, so they can't get into it.
I don't think this is a bad thing. I think this is a company doing what they should be doing because they haven't had any court order documents to do it.
No, they have.
No, they have not. They got a death certificate from their kids,
And
they
the
got
will.
no. Well, they
No.
had the will,
Yeah,
but
they
they
got
had
the
a
will.
letter from an attorney. They said we want a court document that says to unlock this private.
But at this point, this is just semantics. You're being an asshole.
They're being assholes.
I disagree. I think that, and I'm not saying this as an Apple fan. I promise. I'm saying that if this were Google or Valve or somebody else,
I would
everybody
call
would be
them-
like,
nope, I
nah,
would call
I
them
think
all
everybody
being
would be
assholes.
saying that that's good that they're protecting customer data. But
I
I
would
think
call
because
them-
it's Apple and it's cool to hate them, that
I
this
would
is them being
call
shitty.
any one of them being assholes. They've got the death certificate, the will, and they still won't do it. That's all you need.
I don't think so.
If you come into AT&T with a death certificate, we will cancel that
We don't
line.
need death certificates anymore. But
See?
we do it with word of mouth because they have a team in the back end who checks that it's valid with the government, not death certificates. But that's not their story. Like I said, I disagree, and I think that just by going out of the way and saying all you need is just something from
There's
the court
no
that says
all
to-
you need. That costs money.
I mean, yeah, but that, like I said, it's protecting customer
That's
information.
such an
Hey, your
asshole
parent
move.
just died. Let's make you jump through a few more hoops.
That's such an asshole
Well,
move.
is what it is. Here's the thing. Here's me as a parent, and this is all massive speculation. So take this for what it's worth. If I was dying of cancer and maybe had like some journal or something on an iPad that I was putting in there about how much I was in pain and shit like that, maybe I didn't want my kid to see that. Maybe she put a password on it thinking rampant speculation admitted that maybe she put it on there thinking they can just wipe it and it'll be their iPad. Granted, that we don't know. The thing is we don't know if they're talking about an iCloud passcode or just the passcode to get into the thing that was never said. But if it's an iCloud passcode, that makes more sense to me that they would be kind of, or if it was a data passcode, that would make more sense. But an iCloud passcode, it would be them being an asshole about it because that they should be able to just remove that with a death certificate. But to get in to have access to her data, I would say that warrants a court order.
But then what? I mean, okay, I guess if it is specifically to access like data stored on the cloud, I can
No,
understand.
not on the cloud. I went the reverse of that.
Okay.
Because what we don't know is that with the iCloud now, since iOS 7, if you have Find My iPhone turned on and you wipe the whole device, it makes you type in the iCloud account that was on it before you can use it again. So a lot of people are saying maybe that's what it is. There's no official a word on it yet. Is that if it's the iCloud data, like basically that password so that her kid can now use the iPad as a restored iPad that has none of her data on it, or if it's the passcode to access all of her data. Apple fighting this so hard tells me it's probably the passcode to access her data, and they're saying that you can wipe the device and we'll reset that. But again, that's
Or
speculation.
she's got
but
photos of the whole family and stuff
Well,
like
and the
that.
other thing is,
And
if
I get that.
if she knows she's dying, you would assume that if she had something on there, she would get rid of it before it got close. Because it's not like, I mean,
But if she knew she was dying and she wanted them to have access to it, then why would she have it passworded and
Because
made
she's
it so hard?
also a parent, and she's probably an older lady, and they don't understand that stuff. She probably thought, oh, they can just get right back into it.
why do we put passwords on anything? Just to have it personally ours. Like, you know what I mean? Just on the off chance.
I don't have anything with
I don't keep
passwords.
passwords either.
I mean-
on devices. That
On devices
Yeah, that's what I
specifically,
mean.
no. But
But she probably didn't understand that, because as someone who worked in the cell phone and, that industry for a long time, they don't.
and I
People
agree.
our age don't understand that stuff.
I get that completely, and that's like I said, even iOS 7 that like prompts you to put in a passcode and stuff. I get that, but my thing is that if we're to speculate about it, which we kind of have to because we don't know the whole story, it could be that she didn't want them to have her stuff in there. I mean, so
why leave it to them? Why not just have it
well, I
displayed
mean,
on-
just physically the data. In my mind, anyway, and this, like, I freely admit that I'm rampantly speculating, but it could be that she just thought they'll just be able to, wipe it and it'll be their iPad. It won't have my data on it. So that could be her thought, and that's what I'm saying is Apple could be coming from that point of view. It's just saying that maybe she doesn't want them to have her data, but just have the device. So that could be why they're asking for it, and that's
But correct me if I'm wrong, but you also have to put the password in to wipe it.
two different passcodes. You have the passcode that you type in to just like get in and play with stuff, and then you have to put in an iTunes password to wipe it.
That's true. But what if they're not even given that?
Well, that's why I said we don't know. So
Yeah.
I said if they're not doing the iTunes password so that they can wipe it, that's kind of going a bit too far there. But at the same time, I can see that because that's attached to credit card info. But then the reverse of that is that they have access to that credit card info because it's her will has left all that stuff. So I could argue either side back and forth. But like I said, if it's just a passcode to get to her data, I want them to protect that more. Just because, to me anyway, that's information she may not have wanted her kids to have. Like I said, if I had a whole journal in my iPad about how much again, one more time, rampant speculation, but how much I was in pain and I wanted to die and how I can't wait till it's over, I won't want my kids to see how much how horrible it was for me in the end.
Or her search history.
Especially that. But
that's why you wear medical bracelets.
What?
That says delete my.
Oh, nice.
You've never heard that joke before?
Not the medical bracelets,
Okay.
but that makes sense. I'm going to train my kid to do that and get rid of autofill data because that shit will get you every time.
Yeah.
Amateur mistake. But that's all I'm saying is that if it's her iCloud and they just want access to a fresh wiped iPad so her kid can just start having an iPad, I say kid, but he's in his late 20s. But then that's kind of like, just wipe it for him and give it back to him. He has that. But if he wants access to her data, that's a different monster. That's something that I think should be protected more.
But it's not like he's not going to be able to get the court order. So it's just dragging out.
We don't. I mean, who knows?
They
could say it. Like I said, they could say that we can wipe it and that you can have that, but you're not going to have access to her data.
I guarantee.
You could be right. You could be wrong. That's why it's going to court. That's
the purpose.
If you guarantee it, then it wouldn't have to go to court. So anyway, that's my 2 cents on it. That's the only take I'll have is I could argue both sides of it for different reasons, but I don't think it should just be across the board. She died, so they have access to everything. Maybe the shit that she doesn't want them to have access to, or like I said, more importantly, it's something that Apple should protect. They should protect their customers' data, living or dead. They should go the right way to go about getting their information. So that's my opinion, anyway. As drawn out and quiet as the room is now.
Yeah. We'll move on, but I don't agree with that.
That's fair.
Let us know what you think.
Yeah, let us know on our Facebook. Yeah.
Yeah. Let us know if you think that.
Let us know what you think I'm wrong.
We had our Nerd Wars early this podcast, apparently.
No, that was a bonus Nerd Wars. We'll do the official one later, but yeah, that's all I got. Anybody else have anything?
I derailed every thought I had before that conversation.
Like that's hard to do.
Well, no, I mean, I can't.
What stuff did you bring, Billy? You said you had something. Was it the thing Steve stole?
No. I mentioned it to you guys once already, but as far as it goes, they've already announced that they're doing Dishonored 2, and it's going to be next gen, and it's going to be officially announced at E3. But I mean,
do we know? I mean, I'm sure we don't know much about it, but do we know if it's a direct sequel to following?
I have no idea.
From Corvallis? No, that's my character's name.
Yes, that's it. That's mine.
No, that's me and my buddy Cody. I don't know any of my friends. The story that we wrote. Corvallis is the bad guy.
That's why I recognize
Corbin?
I can't even remember.
Corbin Atano. That's his name.
Corbin Dallas.
Corbin Dallas.
That's all I kept thinking.
Multipass. I guess we should mention that Arkham Knight is going to be all next gen too. It's PS4, Xbox One.
That's what excites me the
and
most.
PC.
It's safe to assume that any of the big IPs are probably going to shift to next gen because it's just a smart move. But
yeah, there was kind of their last of their
only.
Yeah, which is in my mind that's the smart way to go because
it's realistically like when you release new hardware like that and it's going to be more than a year out from release, which it will be. These games aren't going to come out until almost exactly. Yeah. Then there's no reason not to push next gen. Otherwise, you're going to end up spending company money.
I'm so shocked GTA 5 wasn't cross-platform or cross-gen. Yeah. That still blows my mind.
Yeah, and I kept hearing rumors that that's what it was going to be, and then it never.
Well,
I can't believe
it before the
really.
PS4 though.
Huh?
GTA 5 released before the PS4.
Yeah, it released like 2 weeks before.
Yeah, that's what
pretty
we're
much spot on.
It was like on the cusp, so
that's why I'm so surprised
easily,
they didn't.
Yeah, been something that could have.
But how long?
You buy it now, wait a month, and then do it
on it, and up to that point.
Oh, I'm sure they had word of those two consoles before they launched that.
Well, absolutely, but they probably only had a year notice in advance.
Sure,
and they've probably been working on the game for 4 or 5.
But if I was Xbox or PlayStation, I would want
that
Rockstar, to know, hey, this is where you need to be going. This is the development platform you need to be working with.
Especially since they focused so hard on its appearance and how gorgeous it was.
To be fair, they might have had this as like they may have been presented with the opportunity and said, no, we're going to stick with this for now and then move to the next one too.
And we talked about this a few pods ago, and I guess it's obvious to mention, but I said that it was probably a month or so ago that at the time I said this Friday we're supposed to hear if they're announcing a GTA 5 port for the consoles, and obviously we didn't hear that. That never happened because you never heard me talk about it. But yeah, that's of all, there's 2 games that I regret trading in my PS3 for. One of them is fucking GTA 5, and the other one is The Last of Us. Those are games that I hope I will still get to play one day on, at least on the new consoles, even if it's a shitty port, even if it's on PC. I'm okay with that.
At this point, you can buy a cheap used PS3. You realize that, right?
Well, I traded mine in, so I don't want to go buy another one because then I feel like a dumbass.
You're just rebuying it
If I
back?
buy another one from them at twice the cost I sold it back to them, then I'll really feel like a shitty person.
Oh man! Wait till this Christmas. You get one fucking pennies on the dollar.
That's like me selling you my car and saying, "Hey, can I buy it right back for double the price?" And I'm, sure, fucking idiot. GameStop is like, happy to. They'll gladly talk to
in
me
my
about
defense, I did say, why are you trading those in when they're still releasing games for, I mean, usually it's like 2 years after the new gen.
And it's the most recent console that you can play all the Ratchet and Clanks and Jack and Daxters and Sly Coopers on.
There's probably a quote of me out there somewhere saying, surely they'll port GTA 5 or Last of Us to PS4. But
yeah, I think we talked about that at one point.
I'm sure that you could probably look at one of our podcasts and they'd be like, it's no worry, it'll be out soon enough.
I think it was one of those things where we said, it'll either go to PS4 or at least PC.
Yeah. And that's what I just said.
It will go
hopefully
PC eventually. I think
GTA 5 or GTA games always do, but their PC ports are garbage.
Terrible. Yeah.
They're just the worst.
Well, they're garbage until one of the fan makes the fix patches.
The MMO hack version.
Yeah. Well, GTA 4, like, on PC, I can't... I bought it. I can't play it. Physically, like, not just like, oh, it's so terrible, I can't... I literally cannot play the game. It freaks out. My computer will not play it.
You should find the San Andreas, like, hack thing. That, like I said, it's like an MMO. Yeah, it's completely multiplayer, and there's so much added ridiculousness. What the fuck was that?
What was that?
iMessage on my Mac. But, yeah, so... I hope that happens eventually, but I've gotten derailed. So Dishonored 2 anyway. But yeah, I don't know. I hope it's a direct sequel because I want to hear more about Corbin. I want to know what happened to Corbin.
I need to play the first one. I just have a hard time getting into.
I really like the environment, basically. The atmosphere was really great.
Very
and again,
steampunky.
Thief has that same feel. Not steampunky, Steve, but it's Steve. Damn it, Fatigue. But. Thief has that same kind of atmosphere, very similar in ways, that it's kind of dreary and it's very dark and kind of, I don't know what that time frame in, like, Europe is, but it feels like that anyway.
Kind of industrial
plague times, whatever that was.
I don't know what to call it.
No, I wouldn't call that plague times.
Well, that's what Thief is. Thief is during a plague, literally.
Well, during a plague, but I wouldn't say the plague.
Oh, yeah. It's, they call it
the
gloom.
It's not Victorian.
It could be Victorian, Industrial Revolution-y.
Yeah, Industrial Revolution would be Victorian.
Yeah. He's got a bitchin' compound bow, so it's that kind of folds up all cool that he puts on his back.
Yeah, so it'd probably be Victorian. Then.
It's like I'm going to call it light steampunk too, because it has some kind of aspects of that where it's where lots of cool little gadgets and gizmos, like this thing that he uses to climb up. It looks kind of like a Morning Star a little bit, but it's kind of hooked more, and it folds apart, like kind of like snaps into place, and he like hooks onto shit, and he pulls himself up. Right, not like Batman style, but like he like literally uses it as a lever to pull himself up.
Yeah,
but that's cool.
I'm really excited for Jim Butcher's steampunk series.
Yeah. I still have to read the Codex Alera stuff. I haven't
you haven't read that?
Yeah.
A small part of me is like, I should change that. I'm super excited for it, but a small part of me hopes he waits until towards the very end of the Dresden Files, because when he was doing Codex Alera and Dresden Files, he drastically slowed down his release time.
Does that mean we got like 10 years until that starts?
No, this is...
Books were a year apart, but you didn't get both books in the same year. You would get one at the end of the year and like one at the beginning, so you were still waiting like a year and a half, sort of, between books.
This is the 2013...
It sounds like a year and a month, Billy.
No, it was a little more than that.
2013 is the first year that we didn't get a Dresden book. And it's been... a year every time.
See, I thought we needed...
No, and it was almost always... And actually, he slowed down after he stopped the Codex Alera. When he was doing the Codex Alera, it was October of every year.
Well, regardless, I think he should do the steampunk thing as soon as possible.
Yeah,
I want to read it.
I think it's coming out probably sometime this year.
I really do enjoy
what
his
take
writing.
He does on it, though. Like, there's so many directions you could go with.
I was talking to Brittany about this because she's listening to the Codex Alera right now, and whenever you get around to it, you'll realize this. I don't think I've ever read an author that between two series, you cannot tell it's the same author.
Yeah.
He writes two completely different styles.
Yeah.
And Stephen King has always got like kind of his little...
Yeah.
You're like, this is a Stephen King book.
Yeah.
Pick it up pretty quick.
You can hear his voice in the narration.
or name anybody. Anne Rice or... Tad Williams has his way of like using a lot of stuff or
words,
lots of words, or anything like that. But with Jim Butcher with the Codex Alera and Dresden Files, can't even tell.
One thing, this is something interesting I wanted to bring up for anybody who, like, especially if Rob starts picking up again. I've noticed it at almost the beginning of Stormfront when listening to him again. He uses the word liquid to describe almost every
Everything.
fucking thing in the books. And once I noticed it and I started paying attention, you hear it in nearly every description of every supernatural creature. He says liquid grace, liquid speed, liquid all
See,
the.
now you're gonna make me pay attention to that.
I'm sorry, yeah, I've broken
I'm
the
talking
glass
like
for you.
8 read-throughs at least the entire series, and I've never noticed that.
I noticed it in the first book. He says it twice, really close, and that kind of got me to pay attention. And when after you've listened to him a few times, or you know the story, you stop paying attention so much to the big picture, and you start looking at the smaller thing. Or the reverse of that, I should say. You stop looking at the individual scenes, and you start thinking big picture. So your mind wanders a bit, and you can pick out little things like that. But and that was one of those things. I was like, he said liquid for both those people, maybe like 2 minutes apart. And then I started noticing, I was like, oh my god, every description of every supernatural character, he says liquid, and even when he's describing Grom, the troll from
Grum,
yeah. Or is it Crumb?
It's Grum.
Crumb is Harry Potter. But
yeah.
I was like, that's a pretty big dude to describe anything being liquid. But let's see, says something in a liquid language or something like that, in a liquid tongue.
I will
So pay
say,
attention to
you're
that.
missing out on one of my favorite antagonists in any series, but they have
On what? In what?
in Codex Alera.
I'm gonna read it for sure. I just haven't.
I'm not ruining anything at all. I wouldn't spoil anything.
Here it comes.
Actually, it's really hard to spoil anything in that series except for.
There it comes. It's a Billy moment.
With her going through them again, you can't spoil stuff.
I would have to actively try, but anyway, the villain.
but here I go.
The villain is essentially a hive mind.
Okay.
And those are my favorite types of villains if done right. And in this series, the villain is almost identical to the Zerg from StarCraft.
Cool.
So,
That's cool.
More insectile and graceful.
Liquid grace.
Liquid.
Liquidy, yeah.
I don't think he really uses that.
This one's a puddle.
I will warn you, if you get into the audiobooks, it's just the opposite. It's one of the worst audiobook
Not a good
narrators.
audiobook.
She's the worst!
It's a woman, first off, for everything. And that's...
It's a woman
Okay,
first
hang
off
on,
for
hang on, hang on.
everything.
The main character's male, and it's a woman narrating the whole series.
Does she and then he
Yes.
said...
It's painful.
Anytime I'm in the car with Brittany and she's going at least 3 times to the car ride, I have to go, I fucking hate this lady.
No, she... Toffee goes like that. I'm like, why is she doing this?
And she doesn't know how to make guys sound different.
No, they're
So
all the
what
same.
every guy has got a real deep voice, and she speaks really slow and makes him sound like a fucking idiot.
It's really dense.
He's like, I don't know what you mean by that. That's how she talks. I'm like, that's shut
how
up.
did that get past the editor and everybody and say, yeah, let's sell that for $40?
Yeah. I just got past the point in the in Summer Night where he does the... Well, I'm a little past it now, but where he has the fuck up in the scene. No, the Marsters reading.
Yeah, we talked about it.
Where he fucks it up. And
I still don't know how that got through. That's a big fuck up.
it is a pretty...
What did
I
you
realized
say? I don't know this one.
in Summer Night in the audiobooks, and I realized... the first time I thought it was just an accident, but
Same
now
here.
I realize what it is. But he... it's when Meryl sneaks up behind him, the half-troll,
Yeah.
She picks him up by the back of his neck and lifts him off the ground. And then after that, he starts talking in a kind of choked voice. And then he realizes it, in the middle of a sentence, he goes, "Oh, she picked him up by the back of his neck. Fuck." And then he's and then he just starts the sentence over again and keeps going with it. I was like, how did that make it through it? The first time I was like, that was weird. And I didn't have the book, so I couldn't. I was like, I don't remember that. Why?
That's really weird.
I was like, what meta just happened? I don't understand it. Then the second when I got home, I tried to look it up, and I found that section again. I was like, oh, he totally botched it. He just botched it. They didn't edit it out of the audiobook.
I zoned it out the first couple times just because I was like, all right, maybe whatever. And then it got to the 4th or 5th listen to it, and I was like, that's totally just him breaking character.
I never realized why he fucked up, though.
Yeah.
And it's between chapters, too. That's the thing, is that she picks him up at the end of chapter 15 and, lifts him up, and he's and it was a giant steely hand clamped around the back of my neck. And then, Chapter 16, the grip on my, so he probably took a break or something and walked away. And then when he came back and he's still doing the scratchy voice because all they say is by his neck. And then it's she, loosens the grip on the back of his neck and he goes, oh, she had the back of his neck. Fuck. And then he just starts over without the scratchy Dresden voice. But
do yourself a favor, back to the point in hand, do not listen to the Codex Alera books first.
Good to know. I was wondering about
that is an important one.
Brittany Power is powering through. She's made it through 4 of the 6 with this lady.
Yeah.
5?
There's 6. There's a race in the book called the Canum, and she calls them the Carnum.
Yeah,
the entire time.
That bugged the hell out of me.
To the point where she, Brittany thought they were called the Carnum.
Yeah,
and
steak.
And I was like,
Carne asada.
well, yeah, or like the.
I made the joke all the time.
The plural is like they call them like the cane, like the CANAE, and she calls them the carne.
Yeah,
asada.
Like, it bugged me so bad.
And I was like, I understand she's British, but she is hitting that hard.
That's a hard R right
Like the
there.
carnum. I'm like,
and it doesn't help
that's not
that they're
British.
a very like feral, almost like I want to say wolf.
They're almost wolfy. Yeah.
Yeah.
I pictured them like werewolves, but like all the time,
Basically, and more sentient, more logical thinking because they're smart creatures. Well, some of them.
I can't say a lot because Marshers mispronounces almost every word from that's not like common language. Like runes, he pronounces ruins. Amarachius is Amaracus, which bothers the fuck out of me. He pronounces in the first two books, he pronounced the she as the Sith, which was I don't know where he pulled that one out of.
Because that's, I mean.
And what's weird is that even though he caught like now in the fourth book, I'm sure like Butcher probably told him, you know, since you're all fairies in this book, it's pronounced she.
Yeah.
When he pronounces Leah's name, he still says Leonanshith, which bothers me.
He fixes that.
Or he says Leanthith.
Billiards. So yeah, Butcher steampunk.
There's a steampunk convention going on. When
Was that
you
what you wanted
hear
to talk
this
about?
last weekend, but it's this weekend for us. So unfortunately, I'm gonna have to miss that, and I'm pretty bummed out because there's some pretty cool
Where's
stuff
it
going
at?
on. It's in Tucson, Arizona.
Well, yeah, of course.
So yeah, so obviously,
No, I
I'm
didn't
a
know
bum,
like
yeah.
Evansville or something.
I
We're
never
that's
did.
the other side of the country.
I'm a little bummed.
it's only like 21 hours away or something
I
like
haven't
that.
bitch slapped someone since Tucson. My favorite Aqua Teen Hunger Force songs.
But like one of my favorite.
But jewels in my
Bye.
name.
It sounds like Ignignok. Is that
Yeah.
what that was? Okay.
I haven't bitch slapped someone since Tucson.
But there's like a really cool band that's going to play there. They're called Steam Powered Giraffe. And if anybody wants to check them out, they're totally worth it. They have like this whole vaudeville skit that goes on where like
Nice.
it starts off and they talk about how they're steam powered robots that were built by this guy and their mascot is this steam powered giraffe. And now they go on tours as this Steam Man band and they like act like robots the whole time they play it.
That's cool.
And like during one song,
It's gotta be difficult.
Rabbit breaks down during the one song when he's saying "my." He just starts going "my," and his head starts rocking back and forth, and the keyboard player has to stop and like act like he's adjusting him, and then the song continues on. So a lot of weird little things like that are just so quirky you can't help but like it. And it's almost everything about steampunk, including them, are very family friendly. So it's something my daughter gets really, really into. And every time we get in the car, she's like, "Play the robot song." So I
For
think
some
that's
reason, all I
pretty
could
sweet.
think of about the concert thing was Spinal Tap. I think it's Nigel gets stuck in the
Oh, in the pod?
And he's so pissed off. That's all I could think of.
Which
the whole
totally
time.
happened to Randy Orton in real life.
Yeah.
In the Elimination Chamber, his pod didn't open up. And he was like, "What the fuck?" And he couldn't get out.
That's awesome.
That happened to, I think, CM Punk once, too.
Yeah,
When he was a
probably.
bad guy.
They're pretty glitchy.
I love it because
apparently.
everyone's playing and he's up there just like.
And he doesn't get out until the very end of the
Yeah.
song.
That's so
And then
funny.
he's
Have
just
you
in
ever
time for him to
watched
go back
Spinal Tap,
in.
I don't think I have.
Oh,
I've
you
seen
got
clips
Oh,
of it.
God, you
Yeah,
should.
classic
It's
movie.
just
I've
such
seen
a great
all of
movie.
the big, like, super famous clips, obviously. The 11 and, like, him pointing at the
What?
amp and everything, but...
Yeah, that's.
Oh,
That's all one scene.
There's
No,
See,
I know.
all the big scenes like the 11,
I'm just
and the one with
quoting
the
that
amp.
one. I know that that's one scene.
And when he said like they rock
I'd be an
harder.
excellent shoe salesman. What size shoe do you wear? 11? No, we're out of that. That's one of my favorite lines. No, I'm sorry, we're all out. See how good I'd be? Oh, it's a great movie.
Do any of you guys ever watch Phineas and Ferb?
Yes.
Because
Yes.
there's a guy.
Oh, yeah,
I
the
believe-
two
Every
dads.
episode.
The three
Yeah.
dads like, yeah.
Whoa,
it's like
hang on. You should just sit down and watch it.
Phineas
There's-
and Ferb is pretty
This
great.
is an amazing cartoon aimed at little kids.
I haven't seen this
Actually,
episode,
yeah,
but there's apparently a steampunk episode, and in that steampunk episode, there's a guy who I believe his name is like Professor Elemental or something like that, and he's a nerdcore rapper, and he raps mostly about steampunk and neo-Victorian stuff,
Nice.
and he has a rap in that thing, and that's kind of his claim to fame, but he's also going to be playing at this convention.
That's cool.
But
Doofenshmirtz.
not only is there all this family-friendly stuff, on Saturday there's absinthe tasting, which I was pretty excited
Ooh.
for, yeah, because
Yeah.
I've never had a chance to do that,
I've
absinthe.
done that once, and I won't do it again.
Never more than once?
I did it wrong.
There's no right way to do that, though, is there?
No, there is, apparently. It was when, I don't know if you guys have heard the story, it was when me and, yeah, Billy has, my buddy Josh were down in New Orleans, and we just got shit-faced drunk in like 3 hours. And then we were like, what do we do next? Oh, let's go to Jean Lafitte's House of Absinthe. So we go there, because we saw it on a TV show. We were trying to hit up all the places we saw on this show. and we didn't spread it out throughout the weekend. We did it all before our room was ready. We got in at like 10:30, and they're like, it's going to be like 3 o'clock. And we were like, well, let's go get shit-faced. So we go to this place, and it's like the waitress that was on the TV show. So we're like, oh! It was just not blindingly drunk, just schmammered, because I remember this. And we sit down, and we were like, what's the best glass of absinthe you have? She was like, that's like $40. So I was like, bring me one. Josh was like, me too. So she goes through the whole thing with the sugar cubes and lighting on fire and the water and the whole thing. It's like a 10-minute ordeal. And she brings it to us, and we both take a drink, and I was like, oh, this is horrible. It tastes like just strongly of fennel and like black licorice and sadness.
Fennel, like the onion root vegetable?
Yeah, it is not a tasty drink.
It's one of the main ingredients, yeah.
Not a tasty drink. I was like, oh, how do people normally drink this? She goes, well, it's like really, really strong. So like they sip it over the course of like an hour or two. And I was like, okay. And then I just shot it. And she was like, oh!
Someone call an ambulance.
And Josh was like, what did you do? And then he shot it. And then, so then we stumbled back to the hotel. And thankfully the room was ready, like early. We go up to the room, and then I like lay on the bed. I'm like, I'm just going to lay here for a little bit. Josh was like, all right, I'm going to take a shower. And then cut to like me opening my eyes, and it's like dark outside. I look at the clock, it was like 9:30. I was like, oh, I've been asleep for like 8 hours. I look over at Josh's in the bed, he goes, I didn't even make it to the shower.
Fantastic.
And then we stumbled to like a place to go get food, and that was just a horrible idea. So we just like stumbled back. We were in the worst position ever. Like we were somehow horribly hungover and still insanely shit-faced. Like it was,
oh man, that's like it was the 3 a.m. wake up.
And it wasn't like a fun drunk. It was like the worst of both.
Just like,
it was like you can't keep your balance, but you're gonna throw
You're conscious enough to be pissed off about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those are the times that I wake up and I know I'm at that point, and I just sit at the computer and just stare at the monitor and do nothing until I can go lay back down.
But we just like laid back down and just kept like coming in and out of consciousness during the weirdest episode of Saturday Night Live ever. Like there was the episode with the Jack Sparrow song.
Oh yeah.
And like there's like this weird birthing skit with Tina Fey and just I was just like, oh, what is happening?
And then I watched kind of like surreal feeling.
And then I watched like 4 hours of Parking Wars.
This shitty show based out, I think it's Philadelphia.
Well, it changes, like Philadelphia, Detroit, whatever.
It's the kind of show you have to watch like at some random time under the influence of something.
But yeah, that was a weird night. And I woke up the next morning and I was perfectly sober, but I had like the weird drunk feeling like I couldn't, like my equilibrium was still thrown off, even though I was like perfectly sober.
That's the worst.
I'm sure it wasn't only the absinthe. It might have been the other like 10 or 11 drinks we had in those like 2 hours. But I didn't like it.
I know before, I know I got trashed on our New Year's party, but before that, when I got super drunk at my sister's one day, I was laying on the couch, and I remember, and this is just a random thought before we continue, but I remember my final thought being, I am fully conscious, but I can't move, and I'm going to choke on my tongue in my sleep. I kept thinking, I can't move my face at all, but I'm going to choke to death on my tongue. I was like, how do you do this? And I was sitting there thinking, like, in my, like, just kind of drunken stupor, I hope somebody comes and rolls me over, because I'm going to die tonight.
Sad.
I was like, oh, I'm so drunk, but I can't move. I was like, why don't you just move, Logan? I can't move. And then because I was like laying directly on my back and I could feel my tongue pressed against the back of my throat. And I was like, this is how I die. It was just such a random thought. I was like, oh, I am trashed and I can't even move to save my own life, literally.
Oh, that's sad.
Oh, it was funny though. It was funny. I woke up and I was like, I'm alive! You did it!
So yeah, steampunk convention.
Yeah, that's a thing. And while we're all focusing on me, Power Rangers with trains, bitches.
So is it good or not?
I enjoyed it, but I don't know if I enjoyed it for the reason I was supposed to.
Okay, let me start over. What's your favorite?
Mystery Science Theater 3000 kind of?
Kind of.
Let me ask you this: what is your favorite Power Rangers theme of all your Japanese shows? Like, name your favorite one.
Ninja Sentai Kaku Ranger.
Okay, so on a scale of 1 to Ninja Sentai Kaku Ranger, where does this rank?
5.
So halfway there, huh?
Yeah.
Look at this shitty Megazord.
Maybe that piece of shit.
All right, so
piece of shit Megazord.
I'm going to try and break down most of the big points. It was a really story-heavy episode, and it starts off with all these
and
kids
this is
having.
Sentai, right?
What's up?
Sentai, right?
Yeah, Super
So Power
Sentai.
Rangers.
It's the 38th, I think. Yeah, 38th Super Sentai show, and it's called Reshi Sentai Tokyuger, and it's all about trains.
That word.
And it starts off with all these kids having these big imaginative things. They're like, "Oh, the top of this tree is space. This box is a boat," and like it shows.
Like, you're a retard, kid.
Well, basically, yeah. And then all of a sudden, a black train comes whipping past all those kids, and they just disappear. So like a girl's holding a teddy bear, and then all of a sudden the dark train comes through, and then the teddy bear falls on the ground, and then the mom's like, "Where'd that retard that was talking about trains go?" And
I want that translated from Japanese.
and then so you find out that this thing is called the Shadow Line, and this guy named Bag Shadow. I don't know why his name is Bag Shadow. It's a weird name, but Bag Shadow, who's like this Grim Reaper guy, he's kidnapping all these kids on the Shadow Line because of their imagination. And he's like, they're all crying, and he's like basically orgasming on their crying. He's like, "Oh yes, I'm gonna drink in all your cries." And then he hears a snore, and he's like, "That's a really fucking weird way to cry." And then he's like, "Is that dude sleeping?" And he goes over and finds it, and it's a like young adult. And he's like, "Hey, 2 things. 1, why aren't you crying? And 2, why the fuck aren't you a kid?" And he's like, cake. And he bites the guy. Because he has such a strong imagination in his dream about food that he physically bites this guy in real life. Then he wakes up and he's like, "Oh, what's going on?" And he's like, "You're on the Shadow Line. I'm gonna fucking rape you in the ass." And then the Tokyugers show up and they're like, "Oh, what's going on?"
And that's the new Power Rangers?
Yeah, and that's the new Power Rangers. Okay. And there's only 4 of them that show up. And
oh, I know where this is going.
He really quickly ends up like joining the Tokyugers, and they're all fighting, but all the Tokyugers are new, so they're all really fucking shitty at what they're doing. And then he's like, "Oh, well, you know, I'll help you guys fight." And so he tries to fight, but he's not very good, so he gets knocked out, and he wakes back up, and he's on the Rainbow Line, which is the bright, shiny Power Rangers version of the train.
Okay.
And he's like, "All right, so what's going on?" And then this guy called the conductor shows up with a robotic monkey puppet named Ticket.
Like you do.
It all makes sense, you know? And so Ticket's basically talking to all of them about how they're all the Tokyugers. And Wright, who's the main character, the guy that was the young adult that bit the guy and all that kind of shit, he's like, "Oh, so I'm a Tokyuger too?" And he's like, "Yeah, duh." And he's like, "All right, awesome." So the Shadow Line pulls up next to him, and he's like, "Fuck yes, I'm a Tokyuger." So he jumps off of it onto the other thing, and as soon as he gets over to the black train, he's like, "Wait a minute, I don't know how to morph into the Tokyuger things."
I may have overreacted.
Yeah, I think I overreacted here. And then he like remembers that when he was a little kid, and that he used to have this really strong imagination, and he has like this epiphany that all the Tokyugers are actually his friends from when he was a little kid. And like it was his imagination that brought them all together and blah, blah, blah. So he imagines in like this Sherlock Holmes, Robert Downey Jr. way of like all the moves he would have to do to get over there and punch that guy in the face. And then using his imagination, he like does it.
Imagination.
He like runs over there, punches the guy straight in the face. But that's not going to be enough to beat him. It's just, you just punch the guy in the face.
You just like, motherfucker!
So then Ticket, the little robotic guy, is like, "Hey, that guy's a moron. You should go take him in the thing." Literally, that's what he said. He said, "Hey, that guy's a moron. You should take him this thing." So they grab the changer, and they bring it to the guy, and they're like, "Here, this is how we transform into Tokyugers." And he's like, "Awesome."
They never use the word morph?
Hang on.
They only use morph.
Changer. Do you mean like the morpher, or do you mean like...
I mean changer,
like,
because in Power Rangers...
Click, 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 click. Here's Nichols.
A changer is in the morpher, but in Power Rangers, they morph, and in Super Sentai and in Kamen Rider and stuff like that, they henshin.
Yeah, I know that one now.
So they're not morphing, they're henshin. So they have, in Kamen Rider, they have drivers that make them change. In Sentai, they have changers that make them change, and in Power Ranger, they have morphers. So they're never in the Japanese things do they ever say morph. That's something that was made up for Power Rangers.
Bullshit.
So they give him the changer, and the changer's basically just like a bracelet And what you do is you load a different colored train in there, and then you click the lever, and it goes choo-choo, and then you change into the train of that color. So they all do that, and they're fighting and stuff, and everyone's having fun. The green one has a giant axe. The yellow one has, like, a railroad crossing hammer, stuff like that. And then Wright, who's kind of an idiot, is like, I don't want to be red anymore. I want to be blue. So he unclicks the thing, takes his train out, and then Blue's like, what the fuck are you doing, man? He takes out Blue,
Don't take this from me.
puts red in, clicks it down, he puts his in, and then they switch costumes immediately, and they change weapons. And they're like, holy fuck, I didn't know you could do this. So Pink's like, that's awesome. So Pink goes over to Green and switches theirs. So now the really tall Japanese guy is wearing pink, and the short little girl is all green with her little skirt. But she can't pick up the hammer because she's so tiny. So then she has to use...
Power Ranger couldn't lift the hammer.
She, like, has to use her imagination. So she imagines herself lifting up all these weights, and then she spins around really quickly and blows up all the bad guys.
Interesting idea.
But then the conductor's like, okay, now everyone's the wrong color, and it's getting really confusing, and I don't know who the fuck is who. Basically, yeah.
Okay.
So the conductor pulls a lever, and everyone goes back to their normal colors. And then the Pink uses her special ability to shrink a bunch of bad guys into the size of ants. And then
Why didn't you just do that at the beginning?
Wait. She's not done there. She looks at the ants and then starts squishing them, going boop, 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 boop. And I'm like, this is kind of sadistic, guys. That's kind of crazy. And then the red guy uses his sword, which has a rail on it. He shoots the rail out of his sword, and it wraps up the bad guys, and then he slices them all in half, and then they explode. And then the main bad guy shows up, and he's like, I'm going to make everyone cry. And then Conductor's like, hey, you guys, you can put all your weapons together and make this thing that's called the something bazooka. Like the Combine
Crazy
Bazooka
Go-Nuts.
or something. Yeah, it's like Go-Go 5 Combine Bazooka Crazy Yes Go or something. But
number one's
His
Super
ad-lib
Plus.
fit, though.
yeah, like if I didn't say it
Superhero
like laughing,
Full-Time.
you guys could have just believed it. But anyway, so they take this bazooka and they load up one of the trains and they shoot it at the main bad guy, and they're like, "This is like what you get, ha ha ha!" And they shoot him, and then when it
turns
hits
into a
him,
big train.
well, when it hits him, it looks like it's like a big train that's shooting at him. But then once it hits him, it doesn't like making him explode. I was like, wait, what's going on? Instead, he's holding a concrete Buddha in a diaper, and it's crying. And he's like, wait, what the fuck? And then a whole bunch of concrete Buddhas that are crying make a tower on top of his head that are too heavy, and it falls down and crushes him, and he explodes.
It sounds amazing!
But wait, there's more.
It sounds like Shining Time Station
He
on acid.
fucking exploded, right? But he's not dead. Now he's 5 feet tall. Because that's what happens when you die. So they're like, wait, we have to get our mech. So the
He's 5
conductors...
feet tall?
You said 5 feet.
I mean 5 stories or something. Like, he's really, really tall.
It doesn't matter.
5
When
feet.
you die, you become the average height of an acre.
I was so confused.
5 stories tall.
Okay.
So because he's 5 stories tall, they're like, oh, we need to get the mech. So the conductor's like, all right, you guys just, get all your pieces together and use your Tokyo pass, which looks like a bus pass or a train pass or a subway pass. And out of nowhere, this little like turnstile door gate thing shows up, and they like walk over to it, and they're like, what do we do? And then they put the little like pass on it, and the door opens up, and then they each take their turn walking through it. And when it does, the trains come out, and then there's like this really crazy scene that's actually kind of cool where all the trains link up together and like click into being connected together, and then it stands up. But they have to be really careful about the way that it works, because it's basically just a whole lot of parallel trains together, and then the middle train like lifts up and then clicks into place. So in the middle point, it totally just looks like a giant dick. So they never show it from that angle. They like have to show him from behind or something when it gets to that point where it looks like he'll have an erection. And then they're like, okay, click. It's not a dick, it's his chest plate.
Thank goodness.
And then choo choo. Then they have the giant sword. They kill the thing. And then they defeated it. And it's like, yay. So before the episode ends, they're like, oh, we did it. That's awesome. And then they're like, so, why are we the Tokugers? This is crazy that we're the Tokugers. And then Ticket said, well, you guys were destined to be the Tokugers because you guys are dead.
Oh, no.
Boom! End of the episode. That's all we know.
Oh, man.
Okay, so
I had an orgasm.
Okay, so
I had an aneurysm.
all right, hold on. Let me say my piece here. I was totally willing to give the Fruit Fighters a go, and I really enjoyed it. There's no fucking way. This is not gonna happen.
I won't say. I'll say I probably won't watch it, but I'm interested to hear where it goes.
The only thing that interests me in that entire thing, and it's kind of neat, is the dead twist at the end.
Yeah.
The Shyamalan twist. But up until that, fuck it all. Fuck all of it, except the metal
Buddha
monkey.
and the Buddhas.
No, that's fucking dumb.
That was
That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in
But
my
they're stone
life.
Buddhas in diapers.
Stone
Dumbest
Buddha is
thing
just
I've ever heard in my
crying.
entire
Weren't they
life.
in diapers, or did I make that
They
up?
were, yeah, they were in something like that. They were in
Okay, that's how I
diapers or
imagined them.
Swaddling cloths.
yeah, some kind of swaddling thing.
Either that or fucking sumo diapers.
Yeah, I'm not really sure what it was. I just know that they were crying. They had like, but they weren't like just really crying. It was like someone went through with like construction paper and cut out blue tear things and like glued like
shooting.
3 of them like onto the stone Buddhas.
Yeah. That's
So-
like their
I
thing.
say this
Yeah.
because I love you, Rob. That sounds like the dumbest fucking thing I've ever heard in my
It's
Tell me
entire
to
life.
one
watch
of the dumbest things that I've ever watched, but I can't wait for episode 2
You
to
want to
have
know what that
subtitles.
story
Yeah.
hook was?
Yep. So
We watched. Me and Rob watched a lot of Kamen Rider Gaim, and one
Yeah,
thing that
Thanks for the invite.
yeah, sorry. The one thing that was really interesting that Rob pointed out to me is one of the. I don't know that he's a bad guy, Durian, the durian fruit guy.
yeah, it's
Does
not
he
really.
smell?
He
Please tell me he smells.
well, no, that's kind of the thing is that like what me and Rob are talking about is that durian fruit either some people say it smells like absolute garbage or other people says it's like the sweetest thing in the world, like it smells really good to them. It's like this weird dichotomy. But so he's kind of like when he's not transformed, he's like super gay, but he's also like he's
No, like literally, like
he
has,
looks like a woman basically.
Yeah, he's bald. He has giant hoop earrings. He wears a lot of pastel
Lipstick and
colors,
shit.
lipstick. Yeah, and he talks in like a very effeminate way and does really.
But like when
effeminate
he's
hand
sitting
gestures.
he's like sitting in his little robe, like eating fucking fruit and shit, watching TV. He has this military costume or military outfit against the wall, and he's like they say he's like one of the most powerful like fucking
like tactical like crazy,
geniuses and
yeah.
whatever. And then he gets the durian fruit armor, which is like that kind of weird dichotomy there. So he's kind of like it's like a greenish color, and then
Yeah,
like it's like green and
predominantly
like yellow
and then
yellow pink.
some yellow and
Yeah.
pink thrown into it.
But and it's like all spiked and shit. He looks like a bad, and he beats the shit out of everyone.
he
all
beats the
writers
shit
just
yeah
beats
out
the
of
shit
every single
everybody.
one of them.
Huh.
Because he's like got that really super strong military background, but the whole time like he'll kick the shit out of someone, and then he'll be like wee wee bon bon.
Yeah, he says a lot of really super fruity things.
Yeah, and he's like trained to be a pâtissier
Yeah,
in French.
pastry artist.
Yeah,
basically.
which is like
Yeah.
a pastry chef,
I knew that.
and his main specialty is doing things with fruits. So it fits in with that whole theme still of the fruit theme, but like I don't know.
Plus,
it's really weird.
you're gay.
I wish there's like 3 huge twists, and they happen in the 3 episodes after
What I
where
watched.
Logan got caught up. So I really want everybody to get caught up because there's like
You clearly don't,
I really do.
because you didn't invite me.
Well, originally it was on Monday, and while I watch Raw in reruns, you don't, and then I don't remember why that ended up changing, and we ended up watching on a random day. But I don't
Monday
even
was
remember
the
what it was.
snow.
Yeah,
It was
Monday
weather.
was
Monday
snow.
was the snow.
It was a single snow.
Just one.
So we picked an arbitrary random
Here's
day.
the thing about this show that me and Rob talked about, and we actually talked at great length about this, is that I told Rob, I was like, it's a really kind of interesting, not even so much the concept or any of the ideas or things like that, but what's really kind of refreshing for me that keeps making me want to go back to this show is that I think we've all gotten accustomed to dark, gritty shows, and it's just a happy, bright, like just entertaining, fun show that you just watch and you're like, I was entertained for a little while, and you don't think like, oh, well, I wonder, it's this, but you still have fun watching it, and the story's still interesting, and I want to hear more about it. But not to mention the most of the kids in there are actually pretty decent actors, and it's a lot of fun to watch. But I had a lot of fun. You've got a couple more episodes till I'm caught up with this story arc, but some cool shit's been happening. They introduced the acorn and always forget pinecone armor.
Yeah.
And it looks so damn cool. Pinecone armor looks exactly like you'd think it looks, but he has a shield. And that's like his main weapon. And Kiwi comes next, and he has like 2 shields.
Kiwi's
that
in
he
the
fights
next
with,
one. Yeah, it's got
like fucking
bladed
Captain
shields.
America. But pretty cool anyway, so I'm excited about that.
Part of me wants to at least watch a clip of this Power Rangers thing just to see if Rob didn't just make that all up.
We can pull it up. It's on YouTube.
Well, like I said, and here's the other thing I said before too, is that with Gaim anyway, we all heard it and went, all right, you lost me at the fruit thing. But even I'd say you
Even
would have
Rob's kind of lost on this one. Though.
Yeah, and that's why I said I feel that's fairly accurate. But and you would admit that after watching Gaim, it's even though you can't explain it really well, it's something that if you explain it to someone, they go, What the fuck are you talking about?
Is that
Dancing
acorn?
and fruit. That is.
Is that acorn or pine cone?
That might be acorn. That looks like
Maybe
acorn.
it's pine corn.
Yeah.
But look up durian too. Durian's cool.
Oh, I see.
But anyway, so yeah, that was yep.
Yeah.
And mango is badass too. When
I can't remember mango. Have I seen? Oh yeah.
The horns go down, and he has like the super heavy mace that he drags around.
That was awesome too. Yeah, I forgot about that. So yeah, that's really cool. We got a lot of that in. I have a bunch of stuff to talk about. First,
there's pine cone.
I should have talked about this while we were talking about Apple. Let's talk about Steve Jobs' terrible, terrible memorial statue.
Oh my god.
Did you get to look at it,
The
Rob?
obelisk of nightmares.
Oh, yeah.
All I could think of was fucking what's her name off of Beetlejuice.
Yeah, I figured that's what you were going to say.
Exactly all it reminded me of. It's basically, listeners, it is just that, an obelisk, and at the top of this obelisk, it's very short in their kind of release announcement, whatever, but the full size one I presume will be huge on their campus. But
certainly is.
And
as it stood in their like announcement thing where they showed it, it's basically an obelisk, and at the top of that obelisk is Steve Jobs' head. Or you can only tell that because they told you that's who it is.
Yeah.
But without even like his trademark glasses. I mean, those circle like Harry Potter glasses, or like even a turtleneck maybe bunched up around his neck. None of those things. You just know it's Steve Jobs because they tell you.
It's sculpted well. It's like super sloppy.
Very shitty, and that's my biggest complaint. Is not even any of the style of it. But it goes against his entire life philosophy about clean, straight, perfect lines and corners.
That's the thing about
he once spent like when he built one of the early computers after he left Apple for whatever that company was, I can't remember. That he wanted to be completely square, completely cubical. He had the entire production line overhauled because one of the corners was like a couple degrees off from being flawlessly cubical. And people said it'll cost us millions to redo this thing, and he was like, "I want it done." And that's the effort he went to have perfect, flawless, clean lines. And they did this like they're almost like, what would piss him off the most if he were alive? Let's do that. So not only does it have shitty like smudged, wiggly kind of lines. On top of that,
looks like it's made out of like claymation. Like it's like
it does, and there's a random 1 and a random 0 stuck on the sides of it, which I can only assume is for binary.
I think
that's the loosest connection to Steve Jobs.
They did say that.
And then they have
the Cyrillic letters.
The Cyrillic letters that look kind of like an A and an E. One of them kind of looks like a fucking flintlock pistol sticking out of the side.
Yeah, that's
of it
what I saw at first.
It's just the most random, and fucking Johnny Ive says that this was the thing that he saw and just immediately thought was the best. And this is a person who Steve Jobs personally trusted with his design ideas to execute his ideals flawlessly. And he picked this piece of shit statue. If he were alive, he would have died of a heart attack when he saw it.
I zoned out for a second. Have you guys not seen it?
Oh, I have, yeah.
Totally
I think I sent it in a text message. But it was gross, and it pissed me off to see it because I think that that was almost like a goddamn slap in the face to the man who lived through that kind of design philosophy. No matter what you think of Apple or their products, that man's memorial statue was completely counter to what he lived, and that was bullshit. But I didn't like it, so that pissed me off.
I can agree with that.
One thing, changing subjects, I talked about in the last pod about Thief, and I said that it pissed me off not pissed me off, but one of the things that bothered me was the cutscenes were really choppy. Turns out it was just the first 2. Then everyone after that is pretty normal. It must have just been, I don't know, it was pretty intense, all the shit that was going on, so maybe it just kind of overloaded.
Before I forget, the March update for the Xbox One went out today.
Oh, yes. Nice.
So the big one that everybody's been waiting on that adds all kinds of little tweaks.
I'm excited about that, especially the volume thing we talked about.
Here's the crazy thing. If you look at your power brick and the light is orange instead of green, it lets you know that the update is downloaded, and you have to just restart your Xbox to install it.
Oh, that's cool.
Like,
I'll have to beat mine out now. That's a cool little way of doing things.
Yeah, I didn't know it until I read about it, and I was like, "What? Wow,
that's clever as shit." Here's a cool thing. Netflix every year has a day where a lot of their engineering employees basically get to take the day off from working at their actual job and get to kind of pursue whatever crazy random ideas they had during the year, things they wanted to make. And it's like their hackathon day is what they call it. And one of them, a couple of the things that were done at this year's kind of Netflix hackathon were things that were so awesome that I really want to see them as production things. One of them was a guy hacked a Fitbit to work with Netflix so that when you fall asleep, it pauses your movie. I was like, that's pretty awesome. There were a few of them that had to do with similar things like that, with how your cues work and different things like that. One of the comments that actually made me laugh was that if it should know that if I fall asleep during a movie to just remove that shit from my cue. But I thought that was pretty clever. But
Amen.
I thought that was cool anyway. Some of the stuff that they talked about were it was really interesting. Another thing that was funny, I actually had Rob kind of read this issue before we started, but in Red Lanterns, I kind of talked about this when we were in text messages back and forth and things, but Zilius Zox, who is quickly becoming one of my favorite Lantern characters ever, because they're kind of playing him out as like a goofy, dim-witted, but like really serious and loyal kind of character. For any of our listeners who don't know, he's this giant ball with a giant mouth that's basically the length of his body.
Hang on, they're basically playing him as Strax.
Kind of. Yeah, he does feel like Strax a lot. Except not so much like warmongering and more just kind of silly, just kind of goofy, but he's really a really good fighter and stuff. For our listeners and whomever, I don't know if I've told you guys this, but Guy Gardner is now a full-time Red Lantern. He's the leader of the Red Lanterns. And in the beginning, when he first comes down, he's like kind of shouting orders. He doesn't know anybody's name. He calls Zilius. He's like, "Hey, the giant testicle with teeth." And Zilius is like, "What's a testicle?" Like, he looks all around and he's so confused about it.
I think that's the last issue I read, actually.
And the most recent one, Gardner's kind of bored and he takes him to Earth because that's their sector now. And he's like, "Here's the rules. Don't pick a fight with anyone on this planet, especially if they're wearing a cape, because everyone here can kill you." But they're like, "Oh, I'd like to test my mettle against him." He was like, "If you run into Superman or Black Adam, I'll send you flowers." He was like, "That's all I'm going to say."
So wait, like, are they changing the format for the Red Lantern Corps altogether? Like, are they? I mean, they still have to be about rage in some capacity.
They're all still about rage. They all kind of, and that's actually one of the stories in this issue is that one of them is starting to lose the rage because he feels friendship now towards the other Lanterns. So he kind of has to think about if his ring's going to leave him or not because he's not. He feels avenged now. So that's kind of the where they're going is that the Red Lanterns. What happens after they've settled their debt? Basically, after they're no longer enraged at everything. What does a Red Lantern do? So the Gardner's kind of leading him. There's only like 5 or 6 of them left, Red Lanterns, that is. But he takes Zilius and Scalix to, who kind of is a goat, takes him to Earth and is like, "Here, I got this list of shit I want you guys to look at. I think you'll enjoy it." And it's like the Grand Canyon and all kinds of stuff. And they run into God, I just lost it. Shadow Thief, I think is her name. Shadow Thief. And Shadow Thief's character basically wears this skin that lets her move through the shadow realm. If she goes into a shadow, she can completely disappear and use it to like teleport around. She can teleport through the shadows, basically. But her story is that she's really much a xenophobe. She hates aliens. That's why she keeps trying to kill Superman and everybody because she's a bad guy. She's not a good person. But she sees Zilius and Scalix just kind of running around. She's like, "Oh, I'll kill you, aliens." And he was like, "Aliens? You're wearing a Corvallian whatever shadow skin. You're an alien." And she's like, "No, I'm not." And they're kind of arguing back and forth. And Zilius is like, "Wait, are you a human?" And she's like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Could you please just answer me one question? What is a testicle?" And he's like so serious about it. It was like, it's been like 6 months since Gardner called him that in real life. So it was such a funny random thing that he brought up. But he's like, "Everyone hold on. If you're a human, tell me, what is a testicle?" But it was just so amazing and funny that they brought that full circle. But
That's awesome.
Yeah, they're really full. Scalix and Zilius are very much like the bulk and skull of the episode or the book, and they're really, really funny.
So
they're
you
fun
got
to watch.
those two. You got Guy. You got the other Earth.
Rancor, yeah.
Rancor. Thank you. I couldn't remember his name. Who's left? Did they kill the Angel?
Bleeze, she's still alive.
Okay.
Zilius, Zox, Ratchet, who's the giant brain thing.
Okay.
He looks like a brain with tentacles. And one whose name I can't remember, but he can't speak. That was his thing. That was his rage. Was that his race is a race of people who their social status is dependent upon how eloquent they are and how basically it's all like political back and forth stuff with speaking. Speaking is like their thing. And they judge people based on their prose and stuff like that, and he can't talk. So he's basically like the worst thing on their planet.
About it.
And they treat him like garbage. So, and it's so simple because they treat him pretty good by human standards, but by his own, it's just like the worst treatment ever, and that's why he's enraged, so he gets a ring too. But Rancor, me and Rob were talking. Rancor is a human Red Lantern who is British, but he's really, really unique, and they're playing on his kind of cool uniqueness where I want to see where he goes, because he's not only is he the only Red Lantern who can create constructs, where none of the other ones can. They can all just do the bleh, or just power blasts. He's the only Lantern ever, period, who can create full-on functioning thing. Like, he creates a disguise for himself out of his ring, and it looks not like light, but like actual material, like an object.
It actually isn't just red.
Right, it's not just red. Yeah, he can do things that don't look like light, but that look like a real object.
Access to the prismatic spectrum somehow.
Yeah, we don't know nobody knows how he can do it, and it's not even really something they jump on. Like, he, for example, in one of the more recent issues, they're trying to sneak into this place, and he was like, I can be that disguise for that. And they're like, even Gardner's like, you can do that? So you're just going to look like a big glowing red weirdo, right? And he's like, no, watch. And he meow, kind of scans himself, and now he looks exactly like this guy. And Gardner's like, the fuck? Like, how did you do that? Like, he has no idea how he did that.
I almost wonder if they're going to make him like a central story point and turn him into...
Could be, but
White Lantern or something.
What's so cool is that he's so laid back and kind of like, I don't know how I do this, but look, this is a thing that no one else could do. And it's pretty awesome.
So they've devolved his character something, because he was, like, when he first came onto the scene, he was the stereotypical pissed off, and he did, like, probably the first 15 or 20 issues, he didn't have a whole lot of personality. He was just...
Well, he didn't have much personality because none of them did, before. That was when Atrocitus was, before he dipped him in the Blood Lake.
Yeah, they were all just rage.
Yeah, now they all have thoughts and they can think.
And I remember them starting to wake up.
I don't know how to use words.
Right. That's the other thing, is that Gardner, when he came on the screen, on the fucking scene, he ripped Atrocitus' heart out and basically sent him into space. So Daxtar, his cat, followed him and kind of kept him alive, and Atrocitus has been looking for a ring now.
So Atrocitus is still alive?
He's alive because Daxtar followed him and replaced his heart with red plasma. That's kind of what they're based on. That's what their whole premise is anyway, is that they don't have real blood anymore. It's all that red plasma stuff. So Daxtar just kind of basically forced it to keep going through his veins with his ring, and keeping him basically in a little stasis thing while they're out looking for another red ring. And just recently Atrocitus found one, and it's on a giant, basically this giant thing that it kind of looks like Galactus, basically, but just walks around a planet all by himself, like this massive, massive monster who's towers above mountains, walking around, looks so sad, but apparently it's rage. So yeah, but Daxtar's like, that thing is big, maybe we shouldn't go after that Red Lantern. And Atrocitus is like, no, foolish, we can take him out, I'm the king of the Red Lanterns. And Dax is like, but he's very big, maybe let's try a smaller Red Lantern. But
and also you're dying.
Yeah, he's like, also I have to keep you alive at the same time. But pretty cool, pretty good story. It's the Red Lanterns has become one of my favorite books now.
I'm gonna check it out.
So that's the most of what we didn't really talk about it last time because Rob wasn't here. We promised we were going to talk about Godzilla.
Yeah.
Rob, what are your thoughts? You've seen the trailer now probably 100,000 times.
Yep, at least.
We didn't talk about this at all last week, but a Godzilla trailer aired that was pretty phenomenal. It debuted. I would say I'm fucking jacked for it.
Yeah, I'm totally excited for it. It's not identical to what the best, in my opinion, is of Godzilla, but that's probably a good thing because that's what I like the most was from it would be the stuff from the mid '90s. So we've moved beyond that, and so it needs to continue moving on. And I think that they did a good job of making enough similarities to you see that and you're like, well, that's fucking Godzilla. Obviously, there's no doubt in my mind.
He looks like him, but it's almost like he looks less like Godzilla's snout is almost like a gorilla almost, and it looks more reptilian without being that ridiculous horse face.
Without sounding silly, he looks more realistic.
Yeah.
But not like giant iguana.
I can say this, and I think Rob will also have some input here. One of my favorite parts about this whole trailer is the very end when you see the inside of his mouth as he's screaming, because it looked like, I've looked in a lot of reptiles' mouths, and it looked exactly right.
Yep.
Like they nailed it. It's fatty and pressed together, and all you can see is the fucking teeth in the rows, and that's exactly what the inside of most reptiles' mouths look like. And I keep wanting to say myth for some reason. That's not a real word. It looked fantastic and perfect. And every time I see that at the end, I go, nailed it. They just did a really great job with that.
And they have confirmed that they are monsters.
Oh, that makes me so excited. Well, and we see those bones in the trailer, I think twice. We see him walking through that giant skeleton, which makes me think Mechagodzilla.
Well, yeah, like I said, and even the first the first trailer, the very, very first trailer, they showed like a dead monster body like in the city.
Very kaiju looking.
Yeah.
I saw somebody took a still of one of the parts of one of the trailers. I don't know which one. And like it was way back in the distance, like kind of hidden, circled it and pointed out, and they're like, "Wow, I'm
pink
pretty sure
things.
that's Mothra." Like I'm pretty sure.
That's really cool. I wanted to catch up on that before we had to end it up because Rob didn't get to talk about that last time. But that's pretty much all we got for you this week.
We got our war.
We got. Oh, you want to do our war real quick before we're out?
We'll have to make it be super, super fast.
Oh, that's true.
Okay. I got one that I will actually. Let's save it for next time. We'll do 2 wars next time because I got a good one that I want to introduce, and I think everyone will have a good argument because I'm going to make it an argument. Because I'm going to argue hard for mine. So
you did get a half of a war earlier in this
you
episode.
got me and Steve and Billy kind of shouting at me, but